And we are live. Welcome to the Hippest Trip on YouTube. This is a special Tearing It Up Tuesday. We are back. I've had an exciting week, right? It's been a heck of a week, but we are back. And so I'm hoping that you guys are just as excited as us. This is part two, take two, I should say, on my interview with UniRock. I also have a few other guests coming in that we didn't get to finish with on Thursday night. So I'm pretty excited to get started with all this. And let's introduce the guest of the hour. UniRock, you still there?
I'm here, man. How you doing?
I like your cameo there. Let me lock you in for a second. Can y'all see what's in his background?
You got my buddy hanging out. This is Gus.
He's just in the air, floating in the air. That's
He just
fabulous.
loves YouTube. He loves them. He loves you guys.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're gonna pick up here where we left off because we got soul and we are super bad. Right?
Oh yes.
We got
You know
soul.
it. Rocking out.
All right. So hopefully you guys watched the last video so you know what happened and what's up. We are back, first time testing it, and we should have a pretty interesting talk. We were actually talking about, before we got cut off, that Nostradamus used to use a candle and a mirror to cross over to other places. And I believe that was the last topic we talked to, that he said he was scrying. Someone was saying, oh, that's scrying you're talking about. There was a question from the audience about that. So if you have some input on scrying, I don't know much about it, honestly, but I do know that it's been around a long time.
Yeah, I know that Nostradamus, from what I've read, did that. He used mirrors and he used water, which I thought was really interesting. He felt, from what, this is not any type of like historical thing. I'm just telling you what I've heard. I know he liked using water because it's like the stuff of life. So he felt it would give him a connection. And I thought he would sit in a dark room with a candle. So when you said that last time, it really struck with me. I remember that. And something about the ripples in the water, and he'd look down into it, and that's how he would form his quatrains. So it was really cool. And to hear how he did that, I've like thought about trying it myself, but I don't know if I'd have any good results. But yeah, Nostradamus, just one of the guys I study a lot. I look at all his I've got his quatrains in book form and on my computer, and some people argue that some of his stuff is really general, but I don't think so, because he has a lot of quatrains that said Hister, and then a lot of people compared that to Hitler, and a lot of those quatrains talked about Germany and other things. So that's just a good showing of how accurate it was. I think if you can say a name and be down to like one letter being off, that's really good evidence for me, in my opinion. So
yeah, there's a lot. I didn't ever read it, but Dolores Cannon spent years of her life doing interviews and ended up becoming like the expert on what these things, these quatrains meant. She went through like every one of them and wrote books. So Nostradamus, right? He's always an interesting topic, because there's so many people that are like, well, you can interpret those things anyway. And I think that's true with any prophecy, is unless you're like saying on, March 5th, this is going to happen, exactly. I don't think seeing the future really works that easy.
I wouldn't even believe somebody if they told me an exact date. I don't think, what they're looking into. I mean, if you can imagine sitting in a dark room and looking into a bowl of water and seeing the ripples and then trying to predict something. I wouldn't think, I'd think that he would get flashes of images, or, he'd see, you know how I'm saying, but for him to be able to take that and write it out into a quatrain is fascinating. And then be as respected as he is, even people who are, thinks it's questionable to listen to his writings or to take his writing seriously. Even they are fascinated and they get really caught up in it. So he did something right. He definitely has done something. I wanted to tell you, have you ever heard of a Trump-stradamus?
No, is that real? Come on.
I promise you. I promise you. People talk about this, and it's a Nostradamus. Now, this is where it links together. And when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh man, they're really reaching here. But then, so a lot of Nostradamus not a lot, many Nostradamus predictions mention trumpets. So what a lot of people have done is connected where it talks about a trumpet to Trump, as in. Now, I'm not saying this is, right or anything like that. We're just talking about what's going on out there. But I found it pretty fascinating. I wish, now see, it's always after the fact that you think about, having something in front of you. But there is a Trumpstradamus that does kind of describe the war between Trump and Hillary really well when you read it. Like everybody who's read it's like, wow, that's actually, it talks about a boisterous person and it talks about their battle a little bit. It almost makes sense. So, but that's what's ambiguous about any prediction,
Yeah.
It can be applied to anything.
Trying to twist Dana. She's in the chat room and coming in talking about it later. Twist her arm a little bit, so maybe she'll jump in.
That'd be cool.
Did forget a little bit of news we got to do first, though.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about some stuff here, and. So we look at the resonance today, and it is coming down at night, the human resonance. So I am pretty happy about that. Let's see if that's shared okay. Can you see that okay?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, all right. So that's coming down. And then I also want to share. Sorry, my little screen is not as good as it used to be.
Oh, you're okay, man.
I also want to share this, which is we are on yellow right now. And I honestly believe this because I've been hanging out in the Discord chat rooms and everything else, and stuff has like returned back to normal. People are being happy and nice. Lots of love being thrown around for no good reason, just to be loving. And
I've noticed that.
It really, I know this sounds like, I'm just kind of pulling this out of thin air, but I really think that resonance is reflective on people going nuts. And so that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, your last one, you talked about something may happen, that the resonance would be high. And I honestly felt it. I don't know. I just wanted to put that in there. I really felt it.
It was it's been really nutty the last month. I mean, the resonance just has been jamming really high and people get uncomfortable and cranky and crazy with each other. And now that it's gone down, it's so much better. I'm loving it. So I'm really glad we get a break. I'm sure it'll go back up. I have a feeling this puppy's going to go really high, but we're adapting, and it's nice to have a breather and some time off, and things get back to normal a little bit. So I'm okay with that.
Me too, man. It's always good to have a break. I've been needing one too. So we're both mutually feeling that. So you want to talk about what we were supposed to talk about last time, Philip K. Dick. Do you want to talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
What have you heard about him? Do you know anything about him, or just right off the grip? I
know he's like a sci-fi author. I know, like you said, that he did Total Recall. But honestly, I didn't read much about Total Recall, and that was about, I never read the books or anything like that. So I don't know much about him, but I did catch that story you have on your page, which is amazing. And if you guys haven't seen this, you need to go over to UniRock's page and take a look. And it's what's the title? It's something like someone predicts this from the 70s or 80s, because I know the interview you put up's from 77.
Yeah, the man who predicts Mandela Effect, UFOs, and other either paranormal phenomenon back in the 80s, I think is what I put. So it's an excellent to hear him. It's excellent to hear him say that, what he says. So yeah, he wasn't a sci-fi author, but this man was like really in tune with his spirituality and his surroundings. And he's just like one of those really nice guys from what I've seen, like he went to France and he went all over the world and talked to a lot of people. And he would always talk about how positive people were in certain places, which I think is always great to hear from someone. The cool thing is, okay, so he did an interview. Well, he did many interviews later on in his life after he was successful. And I want to say he may have died before his stuff got as big as it did, which usually that happens with really, you know, prophetic people who are really in tune. It seems like that does happen. But he made a couple statements about how he felt as if a woman with dark hair, and he describes the way she looks, would show up at his door, and she would tell him a lot of prophetic statements, and then take him on kind of a journey or type of a, you know, like a trip, and they would go through. Now, if you've seen The Matrix, it's almost like he's describing that, because, you know, in The Matrix, the lady shows up with her friends and she's got a white rabbit on her shoulder. So I think that part of The Matrix took that from Philip K. Dick's statements. And so he said that we are living in a computer programmed reality, was his quote. And the only way we would be able to tell if we were would be small changes would take place. And the only time we would even notice we were there was when we saw these small changes. So when I heard him say that, it was like eureka. And I was like, man, that is a good way to describe Mandela effect, because people describe it by saying time anomalies or time changes, or just small changes and glitches. So he describes that so perfectly. And I urge everybody to pick up some of his books and watch his speeches, because he refers to his work and says that when he wrote his stuff, he was writing out of a place that he felt he had been. And so he also describes this a little bit, and the way he describes it's kind of complicated. I don't know if I'll say it just right, but I'll give you my best kind of short quote. He was talking about how, you know, when he wrote his stuff, he thought he was experiencing what he was writing at the same time as he was writing it, just somewhere else. So then he starts to describe what some people have said is parallel dimension, or the multiple dimensional theory. So he hits all these things, you know, right in really one speech, where he's just trying to verbalize how he feels about this. And what's so cool about it, it was cool to me. Some people wouldn't think it is. The camera pans over the audience, and some people look like I did, like they were just like, wow. And then a few people are looking at him like, yeah, what's this guy trying to say? This guy's nuts. So you can see in people's faces, like the ones that are with him and the ones that aren't. And, you know, I thought that was significant.
It's a really interesting video, honestly, because like you're talking about that they are really like, if he had not said the word, I mean, he didn't say the word Mandela effect, but he's describing all these little glitches going on right now, and how our realities are not what we think it is, and the way you could tell would be tiny glitches. And he's talking about this in 1977.
Oh yeah, man.
You know, so there's a lot of theories that go around that says, you know, we live in the Matrix, none of this reality is real, this is just a simulation or a computer game, and that this has been going on since the beginning of this game, that they just run updates and patches and software, and there's glitches all the time. But this is the first time in this recorded history that people can talk about it from all over the world.
Yeah,
and so this has probably been going on for eons, but it's finally gotten popular as, and I think something major is happening. An event is starting to happen to shift into a new paradigm, so the glitches are speeding up like crazy.
Yeah, and so many people notice this stuff now. In fact, you know, if you approach a I call it a Mandela affected person, but you approach someone who's not, and bring up, like I try to approach people and get to them in a way that's not going to come straight out and say, oh, it's the Mandela effect, this is what happened. So at first like if I talk to my brother or someone else about it, I'll say, you know, have you ever noticed things like deja vu and things that are a little different, and or seen something in a dream that comes true in your reality? And I kind of play like a little play with them, you know, like a little word game at first. And I kind of try to induce them a little to open up to it, because Mandela effect is so hard to tell someone at first that you almost you almost get scared how they're going to react. You know, I have at least with people. So it's really cool to try to go in that way, and you get a lot more acceptance, I think.
What about if our reality is not even close to as old as we're told it is? That it's all just fake memories, fake evidence that's put into this computer game, that really we haven't been here long at all. And
I'm so glad you said that, man.
I never hear people talk about the other side. They're always like, man, we've been here, you know, hundreds of thousands of years. But I'm curious if this were like a game, if you could just write all the history and everybody just accepts that it's real and that's the history, and yeah, that we've been around this long. I mean, how do we know we're not just like a few hundred years old, or you know, the oldest guy on the planet is the, you know, where it started? Who knows?
That's a pretty major theory, and the way that I've heard it described to me, it might be a little different in this theory, but there's a theory that, let's just say we are, you know, immortal beings, and we're souls, and we're somewhere else, and we need to be loaded into, you know, kind of like in the Matrix. I know it sucks to go back to that over and over, but, you know, we got to be loaded into another reality. There is a kind of theory that says your memories may not be what you think they are. So let's say you're a fresh soul, you come into being, and you're immediately, let's say they make you, whoever makes you 35 years old and gives you all of your memories all at once. Well, to that soul, you're not going to know if your memories have been programmed in, and you've actually, so you could essentially have woke up this morning just now in this reality if your memories were programmed into you. I just had to bring that up. I was going to go there anyway, and then you said it. I think
that's weird. We're on the same sync. It was just as we're talking, I'm like, you know, I've been thinking about this for a long time, but what if all this stuff is, you know, if you could write a computer program, you could write any history you want. And it's not like I could prove any of it. I don't know if there's really an Abraham Lincoln. Someone could have made a couple pictures, you know. And yeah, there's fossils in the ground, but they could have made those in the computer program. You know, how do I know I didn't just start yesterday and this history's written?
And it's fun to think about. It is a fun theory.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a trip because it goes back to there is no time. You know, that there is no past, there is no future. It's just now, and we're just interpreting that timeline back and forth.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And that's interesting, and that came up. Yeah, we are. But see, that topic came up to me through looking into D-Wave computers, because it was that topic started when we were having a conversation about, okay, D-Wave computers are significant because of artificial intelligence. We need a faster system to make artificial intelligence really work correctly. So, you know, with our computers might be fast, but they're not as fast as, you know, I guess, you know, they need them to be. And D-Wave computers being able to compute so much faster, once you bring up artificial reality, you know, and you talk about programming one, and then you flip, you know, a computer simulated person on, you have to give, if you did give that computer memories, it would be just like you just described, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's a trip to really like let your mind go ahead and just process that if nothing is real, then why couldn't that also be real, you know? Just like you play a game, there's always a backstory written before you come in. So
yeah, if you could talk to that character, they'd say the same thing.
Yeah, maybe the whole backstory is just written this week, and it changes next time we jump. I don't know. Let's talk about some other stuff, because we got by the way, if you guys didn't know, I went over to UniRock's show and made like a cameo yesterday. We got into some topics that we said we would continue on this show. UniRock kind of came over from doing UFO debunking videos, I would say, sort of. And then you kind of also, although you believe in UFOs, you think a lot of the stuff out there is garbage or not true. So I got to respect that. We talked about a couple different things, and obviously there's always the debate, is NASA doing anything that's real? You know, the government, every time we go further and further in the future, we find out that like everything the government says is a lie. So why would NASA be any different? That there's always the public story and the real story. And we've talked about that a lot. But what we really got into was this mission Apollo 20, and if it really happened and what it really was. If you guys, there's a theory going around that they just kept going if you believe they went to the moon, but the couple Apollo missions went to the moon that were secret missions, and that they found some structures up there and found a body up there, and there's some compelling evidence. Now, if it is faked, it's excellent. It's really well done. But I thought it was pretty interesting. So I don't know. Why don't you go ahead and talk about that a little bit, and if you want to share some pictures, you can. But you know the rules.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
All right.
I've got it all set. Okay, I'll go ahead and share really quick, and I'll go ahead and start talking. But Apollo 20 is really fascinating, because I think that if we did spend all the time we did going to the moon, we would want to keep going. This picture I just shared is actually some evidence, I guess they could say, from Apollo 20. They talked about how they found a person, even like a body there. This is a claim, of course, and they also talked about how they wanted the public to not know about it. That they when they made a discovery in the Apollo programs, some timeline of the Apollo programs, they discovered something, and they wanted to hide it from humanity. So they went ahead and did what they had to do there, and somehow these things kind of leaked out to us, the findings they had. And that's why you get a lot of channels, YouTube channels, saying, you know, that the moon wasn't fake, but it's different than you think. There's towers there. There are bases there. And it's hard to follow when you get that many conspiracies rolling at once, because you think, well, did they go to the moon? You're telling me they didn't. And then, oh, they did. Now they found towers. Oh, okay, they didn't find towers, but they found some bodies in a building. So you really have to keep track when you're a conspiracy theorist.
There's so much evidence that just contradicts each other, and all of it's sort of credible. And that's the problem. I think some of it's on purpose, just to confuse the heck out of the public.
For sure.
But some of it, it's, you know, what do you believe? I don't know. There's just as good of argument that we never went to the moon as, you know, okay, we had secret missions to the moon, or the moon's not even.
And that's my thing. That's how I get caught up. There are good arguments for why we didn't go. But the thing is, you know, that's why we, instead of focus a lot when we talk about a lot of different conspiracies, we focus on making sure that evidence is credible enough to bring up to people. And it's always good to bring up extreme evidence, but then again, it's even better to look at it with a skeptical mind. So at least most of the time. I want to show you this picture. It's so cool, you know, because some evidence comes in that really, really gets you. Like this is one that me and Alien Addict, he's a gentleman we had on with us yesterday. Can you see that picture? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is just a crater from the moon. So if I go in a little bit and look at it, this one really gets me, because if you look, I'll draw a little thingy right here so you can see. But if you look right here, it almost looks like this rim is not a crater. It's not down into the ground, but it looks like it comes above. You know, and it almost looks like this is some kind of disc, that this comes out as the rim of it. Sorry to show UFO pictures on your show, Doc. I don't know if anyone's done that before.
You know what? No, you're the first, but this show's about being able to talk about anything without feeling crazy, so let's talk about it. Go ahead.
All right. So then, yeah, we see the darkness right around here, and you can see some features if you look close. And also this little part here, we've got this little shadow's going up and over. I'll switch colors to make this. And then we've got a rim, it almost looks. So this would be like the side of it. So it's like, it almost looks like a classic UFO, this being the side and this being the top. And it's casting a shadow. And Alien Addict and I have literally sat with each other for hours and looked at this single photo. I'll reload it while I talk to you. We've looked at this single photo over and over and over again. And it baffles us. We always come back to it, and always it always just perplexes us. So I think that we didn't go up there? You know, I will go as far right now as to say I think we did go. Do I think Apollo 20 is possible? I definitely do. I do, because not only are there this picture, I could pull up many, many, many more, of course, but I won't. But there's a lot of evidence from the moon. And the moon, the nature of the moon and the moon in general just seems so, you just get, when you look up at it from the ground, from down here, you just feel something. And whatever that is, I'd love to know more. I'd love to walk on it myself, but you know, that's not going to happen. Maybe in another reality, you know.
Yeah, you might be able to jump up there, you know.
Hey, I'm working on it. I jump higher every day. Oh,
So
sorry. Let me stop sharing here.
Yeah, we had a lot of talk about that one on his show, but it's just an interesting theory because, you know, we talk about reality shifting, and we have talked about UFOs. Are they shifting? Because a lot of people believe that other entities, including just about anything you can imagine, if you can create your own reality, you can bring anything in here, from a spiritual or ethereal plane to aliens to whatever. So if it's a video game, to some people, it's pretty easy to come in as another character, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Why not hack it? So it's not that. Like, I totally believe in UFOs. I met people on the show that you know, I absolutely believe. It's to me, it's crazy not to. I mean,
Oh yeah,
obviously.
and you have to believe in them as an entity in the sky. We never want to, until we have that evidence, we never want to go as far as to say, well, they're aliens. Well, they're from another dimension, or well, they're definitely, is what I'm trying to say. They're definitely this. We don't want to go there yet. Someday, I'd hope to get there. In fact, we'll say the clues that have been being left for everybody to find lately are going. Everyone's talking about disclosure. And then there's a million theories there. We won't go there, but we hope that it happens soon, just so we get answers, so that we know.
And then the other topic people asked us to keep bringing up was the black-eyed children. We kind of touched on it. The theory is that whenever something weird goes down, some people who have alien sightings, or some people that say that these kids will like just knock on their door and they have black eyes. They look like just normal kids with black eyes, and that they seem like emotionless or don't seem human. But it sounds crazy, but there's so many reports about it. So what do you know about black-eyed kids? Go ahead and bring that up while we're here.
Yeah, we'll touch on that one real fast. You know, we've been through a lot of reports, and some of them come from our societies that are away from a lot of people, like tribal societies or Native American myths and things like that. A lot of this comes up about the full eye being a very, very dark color, like no pupil, no distinction between pupil, just a very dark black eye. And of course, we always draw a parallel between that and the reports of I didn't want to say demons, demonic entities with abduction scenarios and aliens. So the black-eyed children, we'll say conspiracy. I didn't want to say myth. Yeah, I gotta watch my verbiage.
and there's so much crossover between people that say demons and aliens, and they go back and forth. And I suppose it's how you see your reality. You know,
for sure,
they're both probably right.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Everybody is entitled to their own belief and their own. You know,
Christy in the chat room said she's seen one. Christy just said, "I've seen a black-eyed child." So maybe she'll talk about that in a little more. It's supposed to be a pretty creeper experience, but we'll find out.
Yeah. Now I want to see some. Like I said when we were talking before, I'd like to see some more pictures and some more video, because a lot of the stuff we have right now is real spotty.
Yeah,
it's hard to even pull up. So,
and I mean, part of that, I think that anything that actually gets out gets confiscated right away. If it's any good.
I think so too.
I mean, if you actually had a really good video that you put up on YouTube, your channel would probably get ripped down right away.
Oh yeah.
You know, they'll leave out the crazy little dots that run through the sky. But I mean, if some alien landed in my backyard and I put it up, I guarantee that stuff would not be allowed to go public.
For sure. And that's been happening a lot.
Well, I think that's why, you know, there's such bad video. And also as a videographer, a lot of times if you're not expecting something, you're walking in the woods and you have like a cell phone or a handheld camcorder, it is really hard to keep it steady enough, especially when you're nervous and freaking out, you know, so the footage is always so bad.
You got to think, I mean, at least half the people that would see something really, really good, if they even had a camera, would run. I know, I probably would myself, because, hey, I want to go tell the story. I don't want to die here, you know? Who knows what's going to happen? So.
I don't know. I mean, when I've ever really been in fear, I'm like kind of like a cat where I stop and just, I can't move.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Frozen. Get
who's to
that deer in the
know
headlights.
what odds I would do.
Oh, for sure.
All right, so I am going to invite our other guest in. This is going to be a shorter show, by the way. Usually my Tuesday nights are only an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I'm going to invite the guests that were supposed to come on Thursday and come hang out with us. That didn't get a chance.
Awesome.
And Dana, if you're listening, if you want to
Get in
come
here,
on
guys.
too, let me know in the chat. I haven't seen Dana talking in here, but Dana, let me know if you want to come in. We were going to talk about something kind of odd though, and this is something Kate brought up to me a long time ago, is that music got dark. That there was a time where music was very happy and upbeat, and you know, if you look back at like just about anything in the 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, most of the music was about love and being upbeat and happy songs. There was very, very little dark songs. And then all of a sudden you get the entrance of punk rock in the late 70s, and then, you know, some hardcore rock in the 80s. And then what Kate says she remembers the day when it really changed was like when the videos on MTV went from happy 80s songs to like Yo MTV Rap. And all of a sudden it was like a dark shift that, you know, and then gangster rap rolled in. And so now I understand some of it is sensationalism that, hey, it gets the views, but I'm wondering also, you know, I don't think any of that stuff happens as an accident, that the producers are like, yeah, let's focus on getting a lot more dark music and dark bands out there to try to bring down the vibration. What is your opinion on all that?
Well, I was a musician for a long time. We we were moderately successful. We stepped into the water, is what I'm saying. So, you know, it is really weird how the music industry works. You get a really great band. I've met so many great bands that should be 100% rock stars, and they have to work so hard. It's almost like there's a system to choose who gets to go on that doesn't do it by how good they are musically. So I think there is something else that determines that. And I think there was a shift. I think the shift was right between 95 and 2005 personally. But it's scary to think about. I'll share a picture of something when we get some time, because I know she just came in. I've got a picture, a whole collage of 1 million symbols celebrities are throwing out, and it's just really crazy to see.
Right, and that's that, because this is not really about, you know, you go on a lot of shows and they'll be like Illuminati this, Illuminati that, world's in trouble, world's ruled by reptiles, it's all evil. And I'm not saying that that stuff's not real, but I don't like to focus on it if it is.
True,
you know, because there's really not much you can do about it. You can try to live your life and jam your vibration up to a good place. So I will say, though, I think we should discuss that, you know, maybe another time for another show, or maybe if we get to it later, is, you know, I do feel that a lot of celebrities sell out to dark forces, in a sense, in order to, for fame.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't...
There's a lot of claims of that too.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a joke, you know, like you sold your soul to the devil or whatever. But I believe that some of that stuff is totally controlled. If you go back and look, it sure does seem like a pattern.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. All right. I've got 2 new guests, and I'm going to welcome them in. Dana, I'll get you in a few minutes here, but let's. The first one I want to welcome is Walk with Kim. She has a YouTube channel as well. You can go ahead and unmute. And Walk with Kim is, I kind of stumbled on her randomly in some of her videos, and I was really happy to find out that she was on the same path as we're going, that she's dealing with the Mandela Effect and communities and trying to talk about it on her channel. And when she did a Mandela story, it got a lot of coverage on her YouTube channel. But what was interesting was she was from a place where she said, you know, I got burned down on this community and there was a lot of infighting and negative, but now she's come back and she feels like, hey man, it's changed. It's gotten a lot better, and it's a higher vibration now, and we're going the right way as a group. So why don't you go ahead and tell us all about a little bit about your channel, everything, Kimberly, and we'll sit back and listen.
Well, I apologize first. We have a train going through. So
I heard that.
if you hear it, that's why I muted. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's always at a convenient time.
Yeah.
Well, my YouTube channel is pretty empty. I only have 2 videos up. But I will be adding my videos from the Facebook group that I'm in to my YouTube channel where I have stuck it out throughout my whole ME journey. So yeah, the videos I do have there, the one is about what I believe is our mission. And I always tell people that my truth does not have to be your truth, and it's okay with me. And if you're still looking for your answers, you'll find your answers. And when you find your answers, it'll resonate with you and you'll just know it as truth. And that's what you need to focus on, what you find to be truth. So my videos will eventually come up into my YouTube channel from the Facebook group that I'm in.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And maybe you could tell us a little more about the journey, though, is that, like what I was describing before, you're almost like a refugee of the Mandela Effect. That you're like a lot of people, when you first go in, there's so much dark stuff that you can get tied up to, and people panicking and freaking out, and you can really let that overwhelm. A lot of communities and people that have tried to get together, or Facebook groups or whatever, email groups, and there ends up being a lot of bickering and fighting, and it just blows itself up and self-destructs. We've worked really hard on our community to really keep that to a minimum. You know, of course there is, when you put this many people with strong opinions together, there's going to be problems once in a while, but they usually resolved and we blow right through them. I'm curious how you feel about that path. Do you feel like the community is getting more positive? Where are you at on this?
Most definitely. It all starts with you, though, and me. It all starts with our inner self. So if you yourself stay positive and give love to others, give kindness to others, and give joy to others, regardless of the situation, regardless if someone's trying to cause an argument, regardless if someone's trying to push their beliefs on you or getting you to feel what their truth to the Mandela Effect is on you, give them love. And it will change your world. It will make things positive. As for the downfall that I felt for a good 3-4 weeks, it wasn't necessarily the arguments or anything like that. It was more like, I think everybody felt it. Kind of like we were all kind of low and just not really angry, but you just couldn't stay happy. There's just things in the way. And some people believe it was kind of a spiritual attack. Me, again, my belief is that it wasn't a spiritual attack. It was simply our negative vibrations from inside surfacing and us trying to purge them and deal with them. You know, you might have...
Yeah, I was kind of talking about that at one show. It was almost like going through a fast. When you fast, you feel horrible for a few days and you purge, and then you feel great as you move to the next level of health. Maybe it's kind of the same thing energetically, that you go through, you know, a rough time where the negativity is coming out, and then you move up to the next level.
And some of the symptoms are like itching, or I'm trying to think of another one.
That's
dizziness too. But yeah, like when I purge my negative, I really itch by my ankles for some reason. I don't know why. I do not know why, but that is like my itchy spot when I know I'm purging, and it's usually when I'm feeling low. I'm feeling really low, and I've realized now, though, since going through that purge, since coming out of it, I don't want to go there again. I do not want to go there again, and I need to realize, too, that I should be able to rely on other Mandela Effect experiencers as well, and we need to band together to not let us get low like that again.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and we try to do that. If you're new to the show, we try to create a community over... We have a chat room called Discord, so if you don't know what that is, if you're old school like me, it's kind of like an old school party line where you can sit and talk to everybody. You can either talk by voice, or if you're not kind of a voice person, you go in there and text and talk to people. But what it allows is a safe place for people to come in and discuss anything without someone calling you an idiot or saying, you know, that your ideas are wrong. We're pretty much open to discuss anything, and it is very important that we keep a civil attitude in there. And I believe that we have to lead by example that way, that, you know, we try to raise ourselves up and keep that place a positive place. So if you're new here and you're like, man, I don't have anyone to talk to, everybody thinks I'm crazy. If I bring it up to my husband or my family or my wife, that
Yep.
they don't want to hear about it anymore. I just don't even want to talk about it because I'm scared to talk. You know, I'm people already think I'm nuts. And we have had people who say, you know, I talked about this and they dragged me out and made me see a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist, you know, drugged me up and institutionalized me. And it is the same stuff that you and I are saying right now, you know, that we're talking about some crazy stuff. But if you don't have a support community around you, I really feel that like you could wind up in that terrible spiral of, you know, feeling like you're crazy and being drugged out and institutionalized, when really there's a group here that feels exactly like you do, that doesn't think that about you at all. So I implore you, if you're going through that, come hang out with us. I promise we're friendly. And
Yes.
sorry to get on my soapbox there, but
No, that's okay. Your group is, Discord is amazing. Like, your group's in there. You know, I was there last Thursday. It was fun. It was the funnest night I've had ever concerning the Mandela effect. It was just fantastic.
Actually turned out to be a great night. Yeah.
I laughed so hard my tummy hurt the next day.
We do get around a lot. It's not as serious as it should be, but that's good. I'm going to also introduce someone just known as the Bitter Truth, who comes in all the time. Also has a YouTube channel and has some of the most amazing astral videos I've seen an amateur do. Like your moon and planet work and all the space stuff you're doing is really good. I don't know how you do that. So
I agree completely.
Why don't you tell us a little about your process and what you're doing on your channel?
Well, thank you. And my channel is mostly a companion to a Facebook page, but I just got really interested. I've always liked the moon. I don't know what it is about it, but well, I really got started doing it because I noticed the differences with Orion, the Big Dipper, the way the moon's facing you. A lot of the time, if you look at it, you'll see that there's a really large crater or something on the bottom right. And I've noticed that will move and shift in a way that I've never noticed before. So I got really interested in it. I went out and bought myself a telescope, and I've just kind of been learning. So, and that's what that channel is. I do plan on doing a Mandela video. I'm working on one right now. But anybody who goes to the Discord chat, which is really great, you should check it out if you haven't already. Anybody in there should know what I'm talking about. I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm a little nervous. I've never done a live stream before.
Hey, no problem, man.
Except on gaming. I've done a lot of gaming live streams, but that's really all my channel is. I do plan on adding some Mandela videos, like I said. Got a little drunk last night while everybody was taking shots of vinegar on Discord. So.
What? I don't even know what that's about. Okay.
I don't either, but it made me want to drink, so I did. But
well, that's the thing, and some people will comment that you know, sometimes when you have these communities that they come in there to talk about the Mandela effect, and I get that, but after you've been there for a few weeks or months, you know, you get to be friends with these people, and you just kind of want to hang out. And if a Mandela talk comes up, it happens organically. And then there's a group usually of new people that just really want someone to listen to their story, and we have that available too. So we try to do both, and sometimes you'll cruise over to the social areas, and they're having a lot of fun in there and just being silly, because it's not just good enough to have an area to talk. You need people who love you and support you and have a community of like-minded people, and that's really what we're going for.
That group is amazing. I will find myself being down, or I'll look into, you know, the Mandela effect, and you know, there is some really dark stuff involving that. And so I'll come into the community, and I mean, I kid you not, maybe 15-20 minutes later, and I'm feeling great, and I'm ready to, you know, go about my business. So
yeah, and that's
a lot of
that's a big thing about with that is that, you know, I think that you have to leave better than you came in, and I've always wanted that, because that's the problem. If you go to like Facebook, you feel worse when you get done. You don't feel better. You know, if you find yourself going down the wrong rabbit hole on YouTube, you feel terrible when you get done. You don't feel better. So instead of doing that, come somewhere and hang out and feel good when you leave. And that feeling good gets addictive. You just want to hang out and keep getting it, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so give me an idea though, what are you actually trying when you're filming the moon and stuff? Is it just out of curiosity, or are you actually trying to catch stuff up there? Like, have you seen like lunar waves and things like that?
I've seen a lot of things that I can't explain, and I don't claim to be an astronomer, but you know, I guess one of the craziest things, and maybe somebody can, you know, maybe somebody has an answer to this in the chat, but it looks like the thing is broadcast on a green screen or something. If you look at the edges, it's just like a green screen. So if anybody knows what that is, I would really like to know that. And then also people in Discord would they've posted pictures of like a blob on the side of it. I think we were calling it a nipple or something. And it, you know, I just find it fascinating, and to be able to do that and bring that to people. There are a lot of people on Facebook that are astrophotographers, and they like my work too. So really, I started out doing the moon thing because other people wanted to see it, and you know, I had my own questions about it.
When the sky was going nuts a few months ago, were you like getting your telescopes out and trying to find out, okay, remember there was a lot of us thought there was this really bright star that
I wanted to ask him
was
that.
being told that it was Venus. You know, when you looked it up, oh, that's just Venus. It's just extra bright during the winter, and it's not brighter than normal. And I'm like, no, that thing is so bright, and none of the other stars are around, and the moon's disappearing for hours at a time. The other night, the moon disappeared for an hour. It just went away and then came back. And I was like, what the heck, man? Like, you know, it's so trippy. The sky really trips me out. Where I'm living, man, I don't know what's going on, but it's here. So do you point your telescopes up there and take a look at, like, you know, when Venus was really bright? Did you try to debunk that?
I couldn't really find Venus, but Jupiter, I didn't know we could even see Jupiter with small telescopes. And that really, really bright star, which I've got video of, I think is Jupiter. And it's been right by the moon. Like during the pink moon, it was right beside the moon, I think up and to the right of it. So
yeah, it was really weird, man. We were talking about those skies like every other night.
Some of the really interesting things, though, I mean, I found a star up there, which I haven't uploaded yet because it's really just a blurry blob. It's so far away, but there's a star up there that's changing every color of the rainbow.
Oh, I've
just
seen
as
that.
fat, like, you know, maybe somebody knows what that is too, and they can put that in chat. But
yeah, Drag, come on over and talk about that, because I don't know much about that. You have any opinions on that, Kim? You've been watching the crazy sky?
I have not. It's so light polluted here that
Oh, yeah. And
I
this
wouldn't be able
winter,
to
the
know.
sky went nuts, and like the stars went away for a while. It was like someone smeared grease on the sky, and then they came back for a while. And then it's not just like, I know what a winter sky looks like in the mountains. It's not just, oh, well, you know, you can't see anything. And no, usually in the winter, it's like crystal clear, and it has changed. But now, recently, in the last month, it's starting to come back to normal. Like the skies are looking blue again. There's real clouds. There's the stars are sort of where they're supposed to be. You know, I mean,
Sort of.
mostly.
In there.
Yeah, it's weird. So you know, Bitter Truth sits there and stares at the sky all the time. So I'm like, okay, what did you watch it a lot more than I do? You know what?
I have cameras that stare at the sky for me. So if I see something that looks kind of interesting, then I'll go out there and check it out.
So you haven't caught anything crazy like the moon disappearing for 20 minutes or?
No, I have caught things that I can't really explain. Like I've caught what looks like if you were in Photoshop and you were to take the moon and then paste it right on top of the moon, you know, maybe a millimeter to the left. I've caught things that look like that. And I mean, I've caught a lot of stuff I don't know, which, you know, most of it's probably explainable stuff, but you know, I don't know what it is. So I just post it up there. I've caught the waves. You know, people say it's heat waves, but it's in the middle of wintertime. So, you know,
Yeah.
It's creating heat.
Yeah, I don't know. The sky is really trippy to me, man. And so I appreciate you watching it. And if I encourage you guys to go check out his videos and sign up. Kate's posted the link a few times, but it's also in the description if you're watching this at another time. UniRock, did you have something you wanted to add about that? I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
Oh no. I've checked out a lot of Bitter Truth stuff, and he's got some. I don't know what kind of telescopes you're using, man, but they're good, dude. They're clearer than a lot of the stuff I've seen. I was going to ask him about that star too, because that has been really bothering me lately. I'm just really glad you brought it up.
Man, we talked about it for like a month straight. It was crazy how bright it was. I even put a video up on my own page, and I don't do star stuff, but there was no sky. There was nothing else in the sky except this star one night. And I was like, what the heck? Nothing. It was like,
moving independently of the other stars.
And
so,
it would disappear for a while and come back. So like it would jump across the sky way faster than it should. And there was just craziness with it, man.
It's good we have somebody to watch that stuff, because we need someone on our team. I'm going to call us a team. You know, one of the good guys.
The good guys. We're joined also by some guests that just wanted to come in. My buddy Sam, who has not been on in a while, but I'm glad to see you back, Sam. We are talking about a couple different topics. We're talking about music going dark, that somehow was that orchestrated, that somehow in the 80s music just took a turn and never really recovered, that there's a lot of bad, dark, negative music, and I'm not sure why that happened. And then also, like, obviously, you know, about their channels, where Walk with Kim was talking about how they need a positive community. She's moving towards that. And, of course, the Bitter Truth is keeping an eye on the sky. Any of those topics are fair game right now for you and Dana.
Sure. On the music front, I recall seeing some information, a couple decades now, that those people who were in charge of the music industry were getting together with some of the people who have intentions to contribute to the destruction of American society. And they found it an effective tool to select television programs and music programs that exalted the qualities and behaviors that would help unravel things more rapidly. So nothing supernatural on that front, but that might be relevant.
Yeah, I think we kind of all know it happened, but it is kind of interesting to point it out, because it's still something we should talk about. I'd like to see, there is a push. What's really interesting is there is a push for 528 hertz music that's come out. There's like websites where you can go and get a different vibration of music, a higher vibration on and you can even plug in some of the old music and it comes out at this better vibration for your body, really, because the 440 is not so good for your body and cells, you know, the music that was purposely changed to, I think.
I remember seeing your video on that, on the Schumann resonance, and some of that stuff I found extremely fascinating. One of the recent theories I've just heard really shocked me. This is something about Cern and what's going on that I had no awareness of. Apparently, when they make these quarks, now, you know, you've heard of the strong force and the weak force. Well, the strong force is the study of the glue that holds the atoms together, but of course the quarks are the subatomic particles that the protons and others are made out of. Well, when they make these quarks, they're a byproduct of running Cern, and apparently they're so heavy in mass that they actually, a certain percentage of them, sink through the Earth, through Cern, you know, right through the Earth down to the core of the Earth, and add to the density of the core of our planet. And people like Stephen Hawking and other physicists are now saying that's one of their concerns, that they might actually be converting our sun, I mean our Earth, into a kind of neutrino sun, which there are neutrino stars, you know, in the galaxy. And this is part of the material that adds to the incredible mass of something. And they're saying that this actually may end up, you know, it's like when you do something you like, but it's bad for your health, and you know if you keep going, it's going to be too much for everything, overload. And that's what they're saying.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate that input. And I also want to welcome Dana to the show. If you guys have seen the show, you know who Dana is. And Dana, earlier in the show, we were talking about scrying, how Nostradamus used to scry, and you're our kind of resident, one of our resident psychics on board here. Have you ever done scrying? Do you know what that is? Can you tell the audience how that works? And then we'll get to these other topics.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. I've done scrying for years. I bought a crystal ball, and for months I would stare at it and nothing would happen, and I would be just so frustrated, and I put it away, and I thought, you know, maybe scrying isn't for me. And then about 2 months after that, I pulled it out and I gave it another try, and I locked myself in the bathroom and turned out the lights and put a little candle behind me, and I meditated and I listened to some binaural beats, and all of a sudden it's almost like, how do you describe it? It's like the atmosphere opens up. You almost get well, I don't quite know how to describe it. It's like the crystal ball disappears, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're in the abyss and you're looking at the things that come around, and certain things can come to you, and and you can scry for a really long time. But you can use mirrors, you can use fire, you can use candles. Water's always good as long as you have a dark bowl. You can use that, but it does take a little while to get the hang of it. But once you do, and once the scrying tool disappears most of the time, that's when you know you're actually really getting into scrying. So just watch for your tool to disappear.
I appreciate that. Do you have any other thoughts on the comments we were talking about earlier about music changing or the sky or community? Any of those are fair game right now.
The sky is totally changing to me. I think it's a very weird thing that's happening. It's been happening for a few years for me now, where I've been looking up at the sky and it's just not the same as it used to be. The sun looks different, and I think I don't know his name. Is his name Sam? I think he's right. I think I was listening to what he was saying, and I can feel what he's saying. It makes a lot of sense to me.
One of the implications I wanted to draw a conclusion to on that about the quarks was that there's speculation this might be heating up the amount of energy happening in the core, which is raising the Schumann resonance. And so, you know, that was tying it back into what you were saying, Taryn.
And it seems to be every time they turn that thing on, it's screwing up the magnetic field for the planet. I mean, it's almost like a switch, like they just shut off the whole magnetic field for a couple of minutes. There's a guy on YouTube called BP Earthwatch. If you haven't seen his videos, you should check them out. He does a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I've
seen him. He tracks that work real well, charts and graphs.
Yeah, have you guys heard about you know, the miniature black holes and read those documents on the Cern server where they talk about that? I'd be interested to hear what you think about those.
Well,
Do you think they're created? Do you think
that's what they? I've read stuff about how it would be possible for them to create them, and they were debating it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think they are. If I tap in, I think they're created.
I'd love for you to try to, you know, see what you can about that. That'd be awesome too.
Well, I kind of feel like I have little black holes right in my living room. Sometimes I get these anomalies that just show up in my atmosphere, and it almost looks like the Stargate. It just sort of opens up. It's a distortion in the atmosphere, and it opens up, and I feel like I could dive through it. But I'm starting to get a lot of those things right in my atmosphere. So I wonder if they're just not created.
Well, there's a big debate going on right now with some of these top physicists about whether or not there's actually any evidence that black holes, in any sense, are actually a reality. Stephen Hawking has a theory that it's more an expression of something they call a vacuum bubble. Apparently, there's an incomplete negative quality about each of these subatomic particles, and what they call a partial vacuum to them. And what that is kind of describing, kind of like the magnetic attraction and repulsion based on the electrical population of, you know, whether there are more electrons or less electrons of a particular atom. So when something draws it to itself, there's, in all matter, positive matter, there is an incomplete vacuum effect. Well, he's saying that with CERN and the incredibly intense power levels that they're using, that they're creating a more perfect vacuum within these atoms that they're creating and destroying as these quarks come about.
Someone's phone's ringing.
Yeah, and I've actually heard that. I've also heard about where, you know, when you look in the space inside of a vacuum, that lots of light and photons come into, I want to say come into existence. You guys might know how to describe it more, but I found that interesting because a vacuum's supposed to be empty space. But then again, so like with certain types of experiments scientists have done, they've been able to create photons just by using mirrors in a vacuum. Well, I've read documents on that.
Interesting.
Do you think they're just trying to open the microscopic black holes just so information passes through? Just tiny amount of little information from these other galaxies, other realities could come through.
Well, they do say there is a study that says that information does come out of a black hole. It doesn't necessarily come out of it. You described it once, and you gave me the best theory or the best talk on it, and I understood it more because of that, but I couldn't tell you the exact. Yeah, oh, you.
I don't remember that. It must have been another reality.
It was in a live chat, I believe. Maybe it was one of your guests. I could
probably one of my guests.
In a different reality in my head or something.
I'm not a huge physicist guy.
How Stephen Hawking did a paper on how information. Well, there was a study about the top layer of a black hole actually holds all of the information that's in the black hole because of a phenomenon with gravity and the way things work there.
Yeah, that I think that you might be referring to a technique they call quantum tunneling, and they're saying this is how they're joining the parallel realities with the D-wave computer. And most people aren't aware of this, or at least it's not commonly known, but CERN is actually also functioning at the liquid nitrogen temperature is just a few degrees above absolute zero, like 1/100th of a degree. And so the technology of a D-wave and CERN are you know, quite identical. It's just that CERN is just the massive big brother. If you can imagine when you look at your small laptop and then you Wi-Fi or wire connect to a larger screen, CERN would be the larger screen to make a bigger impact on whatever effect you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's, yeah, but I also feel that like your mind and your spirit is stronger than CERN will ever be. Like, I do believe people can shift realities with their minds. I believe that you could, like when we had Cynthia Sue Larson, how she said she would deliberately try to shift into a similar reality and it would work for her. I think that you could probably open this stuff up in your mind and your brain and your soul and shift out if you got in touch and you knew how to do it well.
I think that's what I want to do. I think when I look at that distortion in the atmosphere and I see it sort of show up, I almost feel like I want to jump in it. That urge to go into it. It's a very strange thing. It's a little.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
it's a little.
Well, I'm thinking about those experiments that the government did on all those people to do mind control development, where they had those little hats with all the little sensors on them. You get one of those hooked up to a D-wave, and I'll bet you could turbocharge the whole system.
Sometimes I think I can jump right through it.
Definitely.
In the ME, and I'm thinking about it. I wonder if I'm not creating it in some way.
Yeah,
I definitely think that we are capable of influencing our local reality when their wave energy is boosted up to what I referred to in the past as a threshold level. Normally, matter is relatively stable, but when they're adding all this extra energy into the system, it brings material reality up to a threshold of almost a state of fluidity. At that point, if you happen to be thinking and having whatever attitudes that all come together to combine that influence, I mean, I've seen it in my reality. I know people who don't even believe in the Mandela Effect who've done things. I shared at one point about a guy who had a boat tire that was flat that, you know, was affected. And it's the beauty of an example like that is it's so insignificant nobody would try and scam it. So there's a certain validity to and credibility to the testimony.
I appreciate that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I had a really interesting thing today that I think was Mandela related, and it was my dad came over today, and he had a letter from somebody, I don't know, but he was sure like this letter was for me. So he drives it 30 minutes to my house, hands it to me, and I look at it and it's got his name on it. I hand it back to him. I'm like, dude, this is addressed to you. And he stares at it. I mean, he got the strangest look on his face when he stared at it. And I just knew right then that had probably changed for him. And I've tried to bring up Mandela with him. He's of the older generation. So like the beam me up Scotty thing. And what is it? You got some splaining to do.
You got those,
resonate with him, but he still thinks the whole thing is crazy. So I don't know.
Again, it's a fight with your logical mind. And the way I feel about the Mandela effect is it's like a bundle of sticks that, every twig in a bundle is easy to break by itself, and even 5 or 10. But when you get a bundle of 200 twigs, it's darn hard to break it. And eventually he's got to collect enough twigs before his logical mind will just can't break it anymore. Look, I did want to, because UniRock did tease this on his show. He said he was going to talk about Fermilab. You want to explain that one for a minute?
Well, yeah, Fermilab is just another particle collider like Cern. I've heard I'd love to know the facts on which one is bigger, only because I've had a few emails lately where some people say that Cern is the largest particle collider, and that I've heard people say no, Fermilab is, and they give reasons why, but I don't know if it's a matter of opinion or fact necessarily. Hopefully someone here may know something about that, but yeah.
Actually, it's interesting you bring that up. I read something the other day. Alice, which is part of the Cern program, some of you might have heard of it. That's supposed to be only 30 meters long, and now it's 1,000 times more powerful than the original collider. So that might be something. The
Fermilab, I was just looking it up, it's only 3.9 miles in diameter, whereas CERN's Large Hadron Collider is 27.
Yeah, so I don't think size really matters when it comes to
that's what I was trying to say. Well,
the way that the science of it works out, and the electronics of it, is that you can only put so much electrical energy in a certain size wire. So if you have a desire to make a bigger effect, you have had up to this recent time the need for a larger collider. And that's really what they've said all along. But now they've got these new linear colliders that within 90 feet or 90 meters, they can reach the same speeds as the 27-mile one. So we're going to be seeing these things until they cause some trouble and continue to increase.
Yeah, and when they would run CERN, that thing uses more energy than the entire planet has from the beginning of our existence. So every time they turn that on, they're using more power than we have ever used all at once.
Yeah, it's something.
How do they get this power?
I know, right? Where are they getting that power?
Are they getting generators? Yeah.
And they're mad at our carbon
plants. I will add this in that's one of the main reasons, a theory for the reason that CERN wants to build a miniature black hole and attempt to contain it, because a black hole would put out, now I know this sounds nuts, but it's just a theory, but a black hole puts out massive amounts of energy, and even one that's microscopic could, in fact, power our entire planet if it was a certain size. That's just a theory people have.
Yeah. There's a question in the chat room from, I'm not sure how to say your name exactly, Dufern Schmertz Ferb. He says, hey, do anybody ever feel the urge to go outside when it's a full moon? And I guess he means that like the moon's pulling people to go out late night or out and do stuff. He asked me to ask, what do y'all think?
I sure do. I spent a lot of money to get my telescope.
Yeah, that's true. You go out to look.
I turn into a werewolf. I run out the door. I don't know what happens. So.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I guess that's not the answers he's looking for. I wish you want to ask me a little more direct in that question. I'll I'll be happy to dig a little deeper into that. But if I think he means like, does it have a subconscious pull to make people go out?
Yeah, I apologize. I was just being silly. I do feel that way. I can tell when there's a full moon, even if I'm contained in a basement. Has anyone else felt that way? Just can sense it? Yeah.
I've sure noticed other people's attitude change, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I worked as an EMT for 5 years, and we had, and this was, industry-wide around the world, there statistically is overwhelming evidence that weird behaviors, accidents, people doing goofy things, all increases during full moon times.
Crime also, yeah.
So it's an indication there must be some effect going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we could have a whole nother show for 4 hours just on the moon, all the theories about the moon.
Oh, yeah.
Probably not even touch it. There's a lot of theories about the moon. As far as, and this is something I was saying to UniRock on his show, it's gotten to the point where I feel that almost every single thing that's been formally educated to me is a lie. Like almost every single thing. And I feel like, what else could be more, I can't believe, I feel like George from Seinfeld, where where he does everything opposite, and he ends up having like this wonderful life when he does everything opposite of what he normally do. I gotta feel the same way. It's like, again, I just, at this point, what's left to believe? I don't know. So
I believe everything is opposite. I believe when they say the sun is really far away, it's actually really close. I think it's the exact opposite of what they've been telling us.
Yeah, it's doubtful that the truth is in any danger of being discovered by most of us, but it does add credence to, socially, why is it the stuff we're talking about is considered so, unconventional, the polite way to say it, that, these are crazy theories by most people. Why? Well, disinformation to dissuade people from things they should be looking into, things they should investigate.
Yeah, there was an article I read, and the most significant line in the article was the last line. It said that the Mandela Effect is so hard to describe, and so many people think you're crazy when you talk about it. But it said that fact shows more about the Mandela Effect than most everything else, because it's like something, why would it be bad to talk about this to anyone? But when you get that reaction, it makes you think there's a reason for it, that they're trying to dissuade us from thinking about it. I feel it, at least.
Well, sure. And think about it. If you want to do something evil or take advantage of other people and oppress them, the last thing you want to do is have interference with your plans. Not only do you not want to tell them about it, you don't want them to catch on to it, because then they'll organize and protest and try and stop you. So disinformation is the easiest preventative. It's an inoculation against the truth.
That's why they're trying to stop all the YouTubers from doing their YouTube videos by taking all their funds away.
Exactly.
yeah,
But there's lots of truthers out there who are just going to keep going regardless of whether or not they're making money or not on it.
I will keep going no matter what the money issue is, but it just would be nice
for you.
to be paid.
It's hard not to
say that.
That's for sure.
Oh, on that note, let me plug my Amazon. Thank you guys.
There you go.
If you guys don't know and you're new to the show, if you're planning on shopping this week or buying some stuff because it is gardening season and you're going to Amazon, please enter through my link. That really helps. It's starting to make up a little bit of the difference that the YouTube boycott has cost. The YouTube boycott has been brutal. It is about halved a lot of our incomes. So we're trying to make up for it other ways. And I do appreciate it. I try to mention it every show because it's one of those things that people just forget. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to go because I've gone to Amazon 1,000 times and just go buy it. And they're like, oops, I should have went through the link. But believe it or not, it's really helping. It's starting to work. So if you could really make an effort, go, I'm going to shop this week. I'm going to go to Terrence's site right before that. The link's in the description below. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It's free to help the show. Just go in through Amazon. I appreciate it a lot. That being said, back to the program. Back to your show. I do feel that it is important that if you do take the incentive of money away, it will get to the point where you're going to have larger organizations go, I just can't fund to keep a staff to do this research. I can't fund to do this stuff. It does hurt. to take that money away. And now you have this question. You go, okay, I have a way to do the story. I want to do it, and then a way I get paid to do it. Do I want to talk about these controversial topics? Is it worth it? Or should I do this thing for free this week? And, you know, and you have to sit and now have that conversation, which is bad, because before you just do what you want to do. And now you have to weigh out, you know, I shouldn't talk about this thing in this story and put it in this story. And so it is, in a way, working. And one day there will be other platforms that we will not have to worry about this stuff. And I think eventually a lot of this will go to donation viewing and stuff like that, where we just cut out the middleman, the advertisers. I don't know.
Yeah, we all don't like having to advertise, but and even I have a smaller channel, and we've had to sit down and have the discussion, and it really hurts because we started, but right before this happened, and then we've been trying to fit in right after it, and just like you said, it makes you have that talk with your team, and it's not one of those fun things. So I'm with you there.
I am doubtful of the reasons they're giving about advertisers.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, it may be that the advertisers, for some of them, that might be a valid justification for withdrawing support. But, you know, these are the same topics that have been for the past 10, 12 years being discussed, and they didn't have a problem with them. My suspicion is that it's probably more likely that this is fallout from the political overturn that occurred. They realized too late that social media, YouTube included, were huge vehicles for communication that they had underestimated the influence of. And so they're learning how to utilize the financial end of these things as one more lever they can control to try and sort out, weed out, eliminate those who may be voices in opposition to their desires. What do you think?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
I agree, and I think it's a smart way to do it. All right, the libertarians coming out in me, the government's always going to try to control and grab as much control as they can, and they've been trying to control the internet and put that genie back in its box, and they're doing it, and they're just going to keep doing it until they wear down and get control, and it's working in a sense. But if you take away the purse strings, it takes away the motivation for a lot of people, and so all you're going to get is hobbyists that do it, and you're going to get some people that just don't put out as quality stuff. You know, they don't have, not that hobbyists don't do a good job, but that's, you know, when you got to go to work 40 hours a week, sometimes you don't want to get on and do, you know, 6 YouTube stories a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. That's going to happen, but I will say this. Everything's changing. Media is changing. You know, if I had told you 20 years ago, hey, this electronic thing is going to come along that's going to absolutely kill newspaper and books, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. And it did. And newspaper advertising is changing. And the generation that is born now, that is, you know, 20 years and younger, they are like, they can smell an ad a million feet away, and then they don't work. Like, they skip ads. They put stuff on their YouTube to skip ads. They watch nothing but streaming. They've never even seen live TV. You know, this generation is used to getting the information without advertising.
Oh, yeah.
So, and if there's an ad, they just get all mad and call it spam and throw it right out. Like, you know, when I used to watch TV as a kid in the 80s, I didn't be like, oh, those ads are spam. You know, those Kellogg's cereal, there's Fruit Loops, you know, that's it. But now it's like, oh, that's spam, and they throw it out. So there's this problem that's coming that the old stuff's not going to work anymore. You can't put an ad up for a Verizon phone without drilling it 5,000 times to somebody to try to get in their subconscious, where I think it's going to shift, where advertising is going to kind of die off, honestly. I think they're going to have to, if they want to get in front of people, they're going to have to buy influencers or get reviews online or something like that. And I think that's changing. I don't think just a straight up 30-second ad works anymore. I mean, how often do you guys buy anything you've seen on ads?
Yeah, right. I almost make a point not to buy something I see on an ad.
When's the last time you were like, oh man, I really want that on TV?
Especially when someone has a really aggressive ad campaign on YouTube and you just see their ad like all the time. It's like, you know what? I'm purposely not going to buy your stuff. I'm tired of it.
I got to the point because I'm on YouTube so much that I bought YouTube Red, so I didn't have to watch ads. And I pay $10 because, you know, hey man, I'm a YouTuber. I appreciate what they do, and YouTube Red's like a blessing, man. I love it.
Yeah, and not only that, YouTube Red pays what the people you watch. They make more off YouTube Red. It's really
actually
crazy
more,
how it works. Yeah. Oh
My
yeah.
YouTube Red's actually been going up when everything else is going down. So thank you, YouTube Red.
Oh yeah.
Viewers.
I love it. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Is that
that's
a monthly due thing?
Yeah, it's just like
$10.
Netflix or something where you pay, I think, what is it, $8 or $10? $10 a
10
month.
now, yeah.
Yeah, $10. You get access to shows that aren't accessible if you're not, and you never have to watch commercials. And now they're going to start doing some live streaming soon, I think, of TVs and events and stuff. So they're trying to compete against Netflix. I think they're starting to make their way into that market since YouTube's such a huge platform. What people don't understand is YouTube really doesn't make much money. YouTube was not profitable for years, and they just kept it around because it was such a good vehicle for the rest of the Google products that they barely break even, and they lost a lot of money. So people don't realize that YouTube's always teetering and basically subsidized by all of YouTube's other stuff.
And YouTube's such a great thing. If it ever disappears, I'll be so sad because, I mean, even just the people I've met since starting, everybody's so great, you know. Hopefully it sticks around.
I just think there's another time coming that eventually, like, it will be people support what they want to support, and that'll be the norm. It'll be like, man, I'll throw this show $5, I'll throw that show $5, and that's what's up. I don't know how it's going to change in the future, except maybe like affiliate links like I do with Amazon, where you can recommend something on your channel and get a little kickback. I don't really know how it's going to go in the future, but it is changing. Vegan Warrior said something in the chat room, and this reminded me of something Vegan said on one of his shows. If you guys don't know Vegan Warrior, he's also one of the team here that come on, and he streams almost every day. If you are looking for something to do in the afternoon, Vegan's going. And he always has some pretty intellectual conversations. But remember when I was saying that I feel like every formal thing I've ever been educated on is practically a lie? Like when you look into it, it's completely opposite, and that he was saying on a show, I remember sometime, that it was like, why do you believe these people that say they're more educated and smarter than you when you can't, you know, why do you take their word as the Holy Grail just because, you know, it's been educated and dished to us? You have no idea what they really have done, or we're like fed this stuff by experts that we're just supposed to accept as reality here. And I think he's right on by that. Is how do I know any of that stuff that we were taught is real? And one thing I always come back to is does it feel right in the gut? And what I mean by that is, does if you know the truth, you don't have to promote it over and over and over and over. You don't have to get it drilled in your head 1,000 times when you're a kid in school. The truth is really easy to know. Don't kill people. You know, I don't need to learn that and hear that 5,000 times. Don't steal from people. Pretty easy, you know. But if you want to try to do something more ambiguous, you know, taxes are necessary. Government's necessary. We have to have all these things in place to keep us safe. You know, all these lies that we're told, to me, it doesn't feel right in the gut. And I think you always have to go back to your gut.
I think you're onto a really good observation there, Cern, because on a very fundamental level, we're like fish who can't notice the water. Our culture, from the time that we're born, is a corporate culture. And one of the fundamental rules about corporations has to do with their purpose. You notice how we hardly ever hear commercials for energy or different things of this sort? Well, most of their commercials, when we do hear from them, are more of an attitude toward the energy industry. But yet, we're always hearing about Pepsi and McDonald's. So if you look at the fundamental reasons for something, what you see is a correlation between something that is essential and necessary that you need and are going to buy versus something that's completely frivolous and unnecessary and is a choice to buy. So the more something falls in the category of unnecessary to your life, the more they have to keep putting it in front of your face to remind you to become involved in that world. And so that's the idea.
Yeah,
it's programming for a reason.
Right.
Oh, exactly. And a lot of people I know, Younger, a lot of people I knew when I was younger, and we'd go hang out a lot together. If we stopped at a gas station, you know, they'd work for $8 an hour. We'd walk in a gas station, they'd come out with $20 or $30 worth of junk that will be gone in a few hours. And that always sat really bad with me, because like I like to add up how much money per hour I'm spending on what I'm buying, and then make a decision. And I wish everyone would do that, because, and I know a lot of us do, but I feel bad for people that don't, because when you're going to go right back to work next week and work another, you know, long period of time for nothing, you know.
When you're making like $9 and $10 an hour, and you sit down and lunch is $9 and $10, you're like, well, great, that was an hour work, you know, to eat this sub or drink this Coke, and that's brutal. I mean, to put it in that perspective, I really hope people, you know, get out of that cycle.
Well, there's also a fatal mistake that most people make in terms of assuming that the way things are right now, where you have an income that's happening at a certain pace, that's going to be the same way it will be tomorrow. So it's okay if you spend a third or half of or more of whatever you've taken in today or the last month, because there's next month. Well, that is an illusion that's been reinforced by the fact that you've had a few years in a row that's happened, but it's not guaranteed. And you know, anybody who's had an upheaval from having to be laid off from loss of job by displacement of not needing that job anymore, or has lived through some of these mini recessions that have just jolted us, you know, you're buying your time in the future when you have a little savings. So you have freedom to choose, and you have freedom to exist if you come on hard or slow income times. And it's just prudent from that standpoint to realize that you don't want to waste your money when you buy things or when you sell things. I mean, I know a lot of really sweet, nice people who, when they buy a car, they'll pay $2,000 or $3,000 for a fairly decent used car, high mileage, but whatever. And then when they sell it, they'll sell it for $800 or $1,000, and it's still worth twice that. And I'm thinking, you just worked all summer long, poor kid. You've just worked all summer long and given someone else your entire earnings because you were feeling rather self-conscious or reluctant to get a fair price for your car. You're not giving yourself self-respect in doing that. You give yourself the same respect for what you have and what you've, you know, are trying to do as you would someone else.
And I think that a lot of people may do that because they don't equate their money with their time. And I think that's a good message to maybe put out sometimes, is your money is your time. I think it's important.
You, Dana or Bitter Truth, or, you know, and poor Kim barely talked tonight. Do you have some comments on money?
It's okay. I'm getting attacked by a cat right now. So
Okay.
we have a stray that comes in our man cave here, and he's just been rubbing up on my face this whole time. So I got like cat hair everywhere.
That means he loves you.
Well,
yes,
yeah,
he does.
Cats are welcome here anytime on the show. We'll stop the show to look at your cat. That's the rule. So.
And he's not even mine. I don't know who he belongs to.
It doesn't even matter. We'll stop the show and look at it. But now you guys got to understand, this is a Tuesday night show, because people will be like, hey, you guys aren't talking about Mandela Effect. On Tuesday night, I talk about whatever I want. And a lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with the Mandela Effect. So if you tune in on a Tuesday night and I'm doing it, man, this thing will go all over the place. So understand that.
Can I ask you a question, Cern?
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm a little bit confused with Stephen Hawking's. What kind of ALS does he have, and how is that man still alive?
Honestly, I don't know, because, like, you know, even though his ALS is pretty public, I've never really paid much attention and looked into it. I did know a physicist that used to work with him before he got ALS, and it supposedly was pretty gradual and then just really locked him down. I'm not sure how he is still alive. I don't know.
Because he's rich.
Yeah.
Is that really it, or is it? I don't know. It doesn't
That's
even
one
look
factor.
like him to me. It doesn't even look like him.
As sadly as I have to say, is I just don't know, because I've never really paid a huge amount of attention to him. Does anyone else want to field this one? Because
He's a good read. Stephen Hawking's, and you'll see a change in him. And I'm not going to say it's at any certain time in his life for any reason, but I've read articles from Stephen Hawking's where he's trying to disprove, don't get mad at me, anybody, it's just the truth. He tries to disprove God through string theory, but it's so strange that I've read other articles that seem like it's saying the complete opposite thing. And I don't know if maybe the article didn't come from him and it was a hoax or something, but
is it really him? My feeling is it really him?
Yeah,
that's a strange
I've seen some of those debates as well, and it is puzzling. Some of those.
It's very puzzling.
I mean, gosh, I hate being so conspiracy on the show because we can't talk about anything without it being like, it's a lie. But it's so, there's a whole theory of people that say, you know, that they can basically clone now, or they can use holograms to project people, and, you know, they can do the whole wag the tail thing where they can just keep someone alive on computer. I mean, they can pretty much make someone look real. Look at the movies these days. Like, the Star Wars movie, the Force Awakens had a character that was like completely generated, right?
Oh yeah, the new Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it looked real. I mean, that dude looked real. So it was, you know, who knows? They could honestly.
But everybody's waiting with bated breath for what Stephen Hawking has to say, and I just, every time I listen to him, I'm like, what is coming out of your mouth?
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I heard him say in public was that he wanted a one world government so they could keep the artificial intelligence from rising.
Isn't that strange?
The AI
that
rising.
Doesn't make sense.
If you study,
he's warning against AI. He's scared of artificial intelligence, and he says, well, we need a one world government commission that controls all the research, you know, so some small country doesn't build AI and it goes Skynet on us. And
you know, the way they keep talking about AI, it's like it is in control. I mean, what did they, I mean, I know with Cern, D-Wave, and Google AI, they jacked all those things together. I mean, has that taken control somehow? Because I've seen that in a paper a lot, and in articles. They're afraid of this AI thing. So what did they do? Let it loose, and now they don't know what to do with it?
Well, the concern is that with D-Wave, because it has the quantum entanglement feature, which means that it has the capacity, working at a quantum subatomic level, to try all solutions at the same time. It has reportedly been developing the ability to write its own code and do things the programmers not only didn't anticipate, but didn't think possible, and had never conceived in their own thinking about certain code. Now, what I wonder is, if we have the ability, as they claim, to look into other dimensions, copy and pull resources from those to ours, isn't it imply that other dimensions have the capacity to reach into ours? And,
very well does.
Absolutely.
And therefore, they might be manipulating us or our computers, and it looks like AI to us?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we got some deep stuff going on here tonight.
Well, that's one thing that D-Wave's been feared for a long time, is its ability to make computers think for itself. And I had a discovery maybe last week where, I know it wasn't a new thing, but I came across the Georgie, or I forget his last name, but he's one of the main guys at D-Wave, is actually saying that they want to make computers like us and think for themselves, which is the scariest thought. It really shook me for a couple days. So
Got shook.
Well,
oh no, not the Mandela shook.
you know, that UniRock, that is like right on the cusp of what people are so concerned about, because there's a lot of information coming out about the smart dust and the Morgellons now, and they found out that these fibers are in fact synthetic. They're combined with microchips, and it takes like 1700 degrees to burn these. They took these fibers to police, FBI police computer analysis experts, and they ran it through comparisons with over 100,000 synthetic and natural fibers. Some of you may be aware of this.
Yes,
and
sir.
Found it didn't match any of them. So this is a engineered compound, and it grows within you, and even will outside in under certain environmental conditions. And what it basically is doing is restructuring and integrating itself into your entire nervous system.
Yeah.
And there's people who have been trying different ways to destroy it within your body, and it seems like the electro or EMP electropulse is the most likely to damage it. You know, you may have heard over past years how they always tell you shut off your walkie-talkies if you're coming in a blasting zone? Well, the reason for that is that when the explosion occurs, there's also an electrical impulse that is generated that your antenna on your walkie-talkie will pick up, and it will overload the values of the walkie-talkie and burn it out. Well, that's the idea of having an EMP style pulse, magnetic pulse generated close to your body, that all of these fibers, even though they're the little bits that you are breathing in are actually a fungus, what that fungus is made of on the nanomicron scale are in fact these microchips and driven by piezoelectric pieces as well.
I think it's very significant that you mentioned that it can be damaged by electromagnetic pulse. Why would something that grows inside of a human being be able to be damaged that way? It's supposed to be the opposite. Humans can't be damaged that way, or that's how you destroy a machine in most, I know it's crazy to bring up sci-fi, but that's what they talk about there.
No, that's the most relevant question right there. Now, the reason it can be damaged is because even though the host of introducing it into your body is a fungus, it is a machine itself. So the part that's going to damage you and the part that's going to make you part of this AI system, see, that's the danger of it. Just like maybe we were talking a minute ago about the AI connecting with another reality. Well, if your brain is enhanced, that they make it seem so awesome to be able to have the capacity to download how to fly a helicopter in 30 seconds. Yeah, but it goes both ways. So the minute, unless you wear around a Faraday cage basket helmet all the time, where you get the benefit, but they can't, tap in and take it off when you want to talk on your phone, kind of thing. You would be subject to their mind control, and a lot of people, especially in the Christian community, that's their concern, that this is in fact the beast coming in and dominating the personalities and souls of individuals. So, is it a blessing or is it a curse?
Yeah, and a lot of I research a lot of ancient religions. I have my whole life, and that's where every one of, in my opinion, that's where they all go, is down a warning towards kind of what we're talking about. And it almost seems like this fungus could be like some type of nanobot, or I maybe go too far by saying that, but nanotechnology. But there's a lot of programs on it. You can look at them. There's a guy in England who, it's bizarre, but they show you how infested some people's bodies are. But what they're describing is the fungus is a benign fungus, except it's overwhelming to your system. So if you have a compromised immune system, it grows so out of control that it can kill you. People have died from it. But the particles within it, they look at them under a 450 multiplied microscope, and they see that they are about 1/60th as wide as a human hair. And that is the nanofiber. It's a carbon nanofiber that has the little microchip particles built into it, plus these heavy metals like strontium and the piezoelectric quartz crystals, which allow the movement and solar energy, not solar, but the light energy of your body to help drive this thing. So whenever there's any kind of movement or motion or whatever, it's a perpetual kind of energy source on such a micro scale for it. Like a kinetic power source.
Like a kinetic power source, exactly. It's the same thing you start your grill with. It's that little chip makes a spark when it's hit with a hammer.
Well, they admit they want to, with the smart dust. I was watching a video the other day where they want to cover everything with this smart dust so that, you'll basically be jacked into everything. They'll know where you are. They'll know, just everything. They want to put it in the pavement, in the paint and everything. So when you get close to your house, your lights will turn on and just all this stuff.
Well,
So,
yeah.
This isn't conspiracy.
It's science reality for sure, better. And it's not just want to, they have been the last 10 years. And they've got patents on it. University of Palo Alto, Southern California, the 3 guys from that university have the patents on these nanotube, carbon microchip nanotubes, and the ones that are falling out of the sky from the chemtrails.
And I know a lot of those patents have already been approved because I looked into that, and there's a difference between applying and being approved and paid on it, and they're being paid for this. They're actually doing this. It's scary.
It's really, really intimidating to think the level of control they might be able to achieve if this continues to go unnoticed, unchecked,
Absolutely.
and develop its technology refinements.
Yeah, we'll really have to dive deep into that one day, because a lot of people want me to do a Morgellons chemtrail show, and I think I need to bring on some big hitters for that. And but I mean, we can keep talking about it here, but I'd really, it's hard to do all in one shot, because there's people commenting right now that they have Morgellons in the chat room, and I have people emailing me about Morgellons, and it's crazy, man. I'm surprised.
Well,
it's so out there now.
Here's one of the bizarre things that is just almost, again, so science fiction-y, it's hard to accept as reality, but the sufferers of it know this is true. These sores where these threads come through, they will not heal. Well, what they're doing is, through inoculations and through these fibers, they're introducing insect DNA into our bodies as part of the package of information that is being given to us. Now, when any insect comes along and it bites us or lands on us through its saliva, through its poop, through a bite, it breaks the skin and introduces certain proteins which prevent your skin from healing. You know how you may have heard about leeches, how they have this saliva that prevents coagulation of the blood so that they can keep on drinking from you? Well, insects have a similar kind of protein that does that. And this combination of when these threads start to poke through people's skin releases and works with this insect protein they've DNA'd into you and keeps that from healing. Now, why they would want it to stay that way, who knows? But that's part of the package that these guys, these scientists who have spent so much of their life trying to cure this have discovered. Now, there's some local remedies these people have. You might go and look them up, that they've got treatments of various oils and things you can put on your skin. I personally have found tea tree oil works pretty good. If you take the tea tree oil and put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide on it so it'll rub in good, it will dissolve or prevent the sores from continuing and breaking. But I'm not sure that's what I've experienced. But I have noticed, you know, in my scalp, I've had some questions about it and the itching of like the insect crawly thing. Like, I don't know you guys, but in the real sensitive tissues, like your eyelids, especially my lower eyelids, I have to use eye wash once every week or two, because I feel like there's these little wormy fibers crawling around in there, but there's nothing in there. Of course, these are microscopic if they're Morgellons, but you know, you do the boric acid eye wash and it cleans it right out and you're good for a week or two. But same kind of thing, you just wonder. And they're saying 100% of the population on the planet is now infected. The only ones that are having the catastrophic experiences with it are those with weakened or compromised immune systems. But we all may, if it, you know, the strength of them, because they have the ability to self-replicate within us. So it's not just you getting exposed to more of them, it's the ones in you making more of themselves.
I wonder what would happen if you just EMP'd yourself.
Well, that's what they're saying is the only cure. Now, you have to do two things. You have to EMP, and you have to then kill the fungus, which is partly if you boost up. You know, you can go to the local pharmacy and you can buy iodine. You know, it's like $6 for a 20-ounce bottle of it. Just take half a teaspoon of that, put it in some water, or mix it in with a little honey or something so that it acts as a buffer, and then just take that once or twice a week, because iodine is the #1 thing, that and sulfur, that funguses and molds just cannot tolerate in your system. It's good against bacteria too, but those things, it just wipes them out completely. Somebody's holding one up there. What do you got?
Iodine.
All right, awesome. Iodine, by the way, is a sterilizing agent in itself. You know, the hospitals and medical people will put it on skin before they cut it to sterilize it. So that's, you know, you want to keep your bacteria, acidophilus and stuff in your system up there.
Sam,
so do that. Yeah.
Let me jump in here for a sec. How do they send an EM pulse through the body Or
Well,
also, someone mentioned in the chat room, Rife machines. Like I have a Rife machine. I don't know if it works for Morgellons or not. I've never tried it, but let me know.
how does a Rife machine work?
Rife machine works by well, there's different kinds, but basically, it works on well, resonant vibration, for a better term. Everything has, all cells have a kind of vibration, and a lot of the parasites and fungus and the bad stuff seem to have a different structure or that responds to different vibrations. So some people over 100 years have mapped out the vibrations of different diseases. So in other words,
Yeah.
you get a tapeworm, it vibrates at a certain thing, and the Rife machine will match that vibration and basically shatter its outer shell. It'll act like a opera singer singing at a glass. It'll just
sure.
that vibration until that cell blows up.
Well, you're talking about the etymology of the origins of what biological systems require to exist. These research scientists who have been investigating Morgellons are saying that these little fibers that grow in you that do this clogging up and damage and communication are machines. They have no outer cell wall, so these things, and they're piezoelectric driven.
Okay, so they have to be impulse, but you're also saying there's a fungal component which would respond to a Rife.
Which would
machine.
Possibly respond to it. I'm not sure if funguses have a cell wall, but I don't know that much about fungus structures.
All cells have walls, or membranes at least. So
yeah,
I didn't really get into the high science behind it, but I'm just saying the walls so people follow it. But yeah, the cell membranes is what actually they hit the vibrations to make those shatter. They start poking holes and they leak their cytoplasm out.
Right, it destroys their DNA or RNA rather to be able to exist. So perfect. If that, there's probably people who've done research on this technology on funguses. I'm always for whatever's effective, quick, and permanent in regards to these things.
I want to pull this back.
You asked how do you do an EMP? How do you make an EMP?
Tell me an EMP, and then I want to let Dana speak. She hasn't had a chance to say much either. So go ahead.
Sure. There's a guy who's selling these machines for about $2,500 down near the border of Texas and Mexico. You can find him online if you look around a little bit under this topic. But basically what you have to do is you have to have a coil of wire that is able to be electrified, and then you have to put an adequate amount of power, electricity, DC, through the coil and momentarily turn it on and off. And what this guy did was he took a bunch of these PVC pipes about 1 inch in diameter and built a framework that went 2 rows up like a ladder and 2 rows behind you. And then he had people stand on a styrofoam platform as an insulator. And then every foot or so, he had a coil about 3 inches in diameter. How many windings he didn't say, how big of a wire he didn't say, but he did say that he was putting about 60,000 volts through it at about 300 amps. And so when he threw the major power switch, he was standing back a couple feet, and he had basically a big toggle switch for high voltage, and he didn't even reach over to do that himself. He used a stick, and it made a big spark. And so basically what you'd want to have is something that it would turn on for just a moment and shut right back off. And then you would do that 2 or 3 times, and you'd stand in between it like you were getting in a tanning booth, and it would just creates this magnetic pulse that goes through your body in a large enough volume of electromagnetic force to create an overload to those nanobots. Now, see, that's the thing. There's other people who are saying, oh, you can just take these magnets and they sell them on sticks and stuff and wave them by your body. Well, the thing is, these are piezoelectric driven electrical generation systems in the nanobots. And what that means is that anytime you use a frequency resonating generator like you were talking about, Taryn, or these magnets, all you're doing is giving these things a little squeeze or nudge with these forces, which drives them and empowers them. So these guys have thought through this. They've tried to figure out how might people stop this and how might we design it so they can't do it. That's why it has to be an overwhelming kind of thing. Now, you can use transformers and get that kind of power out of it yourself, but you just got to be careful not to touch it while it's turned on, and you got to get the power levels up enough to be able to create these kind of intensities.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, guy. Man, we got way deeper into that than I expected, but thank you. Dana, did you want to say anything? You've been quiet for like 20 minutes, so I want to give you a chance.
It's got
Hello?
a mute on.
Oh, she muted out. Dana, do you not?
I think she's on mute.
No, she's not on mute. It doesn't show. I think her microphone just caved out. Maybe that's why she's been quiet for 20 minutes. I didn't know she was trying to talk.
Oh, no.
Dana, you'll have to drop out and come back in. I'll let you have the floor when you get in. I think your mic went crazy.
Hey, I want to ask you guys about Mandela effects that you may have seen in the last week or two.
Well, we'll handle a lot of that on Thursday night. But if you want, all right, go ahead. But keep it short because I'm going to wind this show up in a few minutes.
I've got a couple, but I want to hear if anybody else has some too.
Well, I'll have to think for a second. We do have a few new ones at UniRock. There it came back. We had the Mandela Effect. It may not be new in the community, but to us it was. Moses having horns on his head was reported as a Mandela Effect. There's a lot of art and really old statues of Moses that do have horns carved into it. And a lot of people reported that through email and talked to me about it, and it was new to me, so I thought it was interesting.
For sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
that might have been out there a little bit for a while. And he did a really interesting story, guys. If you haven't checked out UniRock's page, he's going crazy this week. He's put out like 6 stories, making me look bad. So
In one day.
you're crushing it out there. And he does an entire story on this, so that was pretty good. I do have some housekeeping I got to take care of before we jump over to the Discord chat room. If you're new here, we carry this conversation over to the chat area. If you want to invite to the chat area, we can drop one in here. We'll drop it up in the chat if one of my admins can do that. And we'll just keep talking, and some of these people do not sleep. They will stay up all night and chat with you. These night owls are crazy. There's a couple things we got to talk about. I do have a very big, well, I thought I had a very big guest Thursday, but he just emailed me during this show saying he has to postpone a few weeks. Something major happened. So that will continue to be a secret. I'll let you know. So we're going to be trying to scramble and get another guest this Thursday because I wasn't expecting that and he wasn't either. So if you're listening, I hope everything's okay and we'll figure it out. So I'm sorry to tease that and not give you the big Thursday guest, but he'll be showing up later. But what is an interesting show coming up is in 2 weeks on the 27th, we're going to have some very special guests from the Ubuntu movement. We've been talking about this tonight where we said so many problems we have is just working for money. And money, I hear people in the chat were like, money sucks, I hate money, I wish we could get rid of money. And did you guys know that money's kind of a recent creation as far as mankind, that it's only been around about 5,000-6,000 years? That before that, and one of the big lies and misconceptions we hear is, oh, well, you know, there was always bartering and trading before that. And guess what? That's not really true. There were societies that functions without barter, trading, or money.
Oh, yeah.
And were much more peaceful on the planet as far as that goes. And so there was all these ways that there was a lot of peace, and there wasn't that, you know, everybody was kind of got what they need without money. So you sit here and we all bitch and complain about working for money, and all the politicians do horrible, evil things with money. And there is a movement called the Ubuntu movement that wants to return to a society without money, which sounds crazy at first because that's like since day one, you know, you're talking to an anarcho-capitalist that all we do is talk about money and you know, free markets and economies. But as I'm evolving and getting into a different place, I would like to discuss maybe there is a way that we could work without money. What would a society look like that didn't need money? How would that work? Well, we're going to tackle all those questions with my guests from the Ubuntu movement. And I'm going to have a small panel of guests from that. And I'm dying to know these questions. It's a fascinating concept. And I'm definitely open to listening to it. And this is, I'm telling you, I'm an anarcho-capitalist, man, you know. I love talking about. I used to debate all the time about free market economies, and you know, so this is really fascinating to me because we're getting to a point, I think, in technology where, you know, we're going to get to a point where 3D printers can print other 3D printers, and within 10, 20 years, you can just sit at home and print whatever your desire, you know, and you get to the point where we can print solar panels and windmills and batteries, and we can pretty much make our own power anywhere. It's going to get to the point where we can get anything we want for pennies. And it's going to completely disrupt and turn society upside down. So I think that's very interesting, that combined with the idea of this moneyless society and how it worked. I can't wait for that interview, and that's coming up the 27th. As far as I know, as far as this Thursday, like I said, my special guest canceled because of an emergency, and we will try to figure something out. But if not, we'll still have a panel show, and it'll still be fun. I want to give Dana some time to talk. She keeps getting muted and knocked out. You want to say some on these topics, Dana? Did you get your mic working and stuff? She working?
No,
It's not working.
She can't hear. Why, Dana? What is going on over there?
she's waving though.
I know, but I feel bad because she's always got smart things to say. And I feel bad that I'm like, I promise you guys, I'm not muting the only woman on the show. I'm always going to get that. Kimberly sent me a note. Sorry, she said to the fans that, that she had to drop out. Someone came to the door, and I appreciate so she will probably show up over in the chat. Last words, we're going to go around the room here for a second, then we're going to call this show. I want to give Bitter Truth a chance to say something. He's been pretty quiet. Is there any last words about all this stuff we're talking about? Keep it under 2 minutes, please.
Not really. Just I've been listening to you guys talk pretty contently, honestly. I can't really think of much to add. I followed your show for a while, and it seems like we've really spoken about most of the effects and hashed out just about every angle to this, I think so.
Yeah, we covered a lot of the big topics, and
yeah.
But there's always new people. I got to remind myself, there are people coming in here daily that are new, that have not heard the stuff. And stuff changes, and our opinions change, and new people come in with new opinions. So, yeah, we'll talk about these things over and over. But again, I hate to pinhole my shows into, okay, we're only going to talk about Mandela Effect stuff, because it really is limiting. I want to be able to talk about anything we want to talk about, and I pretty much do. But on Tuesday, I'm just openly blatant about it. Thursday, I at least talk about a little Mandela stuff, and then turn the conversation to what I want. So hopefully we can get past that whole being just a Mandela Effect show.
Well, I think the Mandela Effect kind of opens your mind to a whole host of other topics, so.
Yeah, I think it really, I will say this for, the new people, I've said this before, just the fact that it confirms that this reality can either be hacked and screwed with, or that it doesn't exist and none of this is real. Either one of those are equally huge for me and the most life-changing, altering thing I've ever witnessed. So, let's jump over to our friend Sam. Sam, go ahead and give us your opinion. You got 2 minutes. Whatever you want to talk about.
The changes in animals, new animals, insects, sea life that we've been seeing just flabbergast me sometimes, how astonishing some of these things have been. The two that have really captured my attention in the last 7 days, Scarab Performance has more details about them, but I'll mention them. Now they're saying these are everywhere on the eastern coast of China and in the Caucasian mountains in Eastern Europe. Raccoon dogs, raccoon face, raccoon features, raccoon colors, but it's a dog about the size of a coyote. Never heard of them before in my life. Totally shocking. I used to have a raccoon pet, so I was really into raccoons. Okay. Now, another one, the Wolverine character on the DC Comics that has the knives that shoot out of his hand?
Oh, yeah.
There's a Wolverine frog in Africa. It's got spiky hairs along its side. It's about 8 to 10 inches long. This frog, when it's attacked or wants to climb on slimy rocks, can literally break the bones on the ends of its fingers and toes. They're pointed. They stick out through their skin to attack defend themselves against attackers and climb. And then they withdraw them back in where the skin has to heal back over them. It's also called a horror frog. Yeah, so Google that one. And then there seems to be quite a bit of evidence emerging that in this reality, our teeth can heal from cavities.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've had a lot of cavities, so that's good news for me.
I'm definitely going to have Kate check this out. Go ahead.
Check this out. I mean, apparently they grow back about the same rate as fingernails and toenails, and you've got to help them a little bit, because if you've got a pocket, yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm just blown away if this is true. Apparently there's a technique called oil pulling, and apparently you can use different kinds of oils, but coconut oil seems to be the most effective. And the idea there is that it's very effective at washing out acid pockets from sugars and things. You can also help it. Go ahead.
Continue.
You can also help it along by changing your diet and not eating apparently oats and wheats, which have a certain protein in them, which reduces the production of enamel. But people have x-rays showing before and after pictures on YouTube now. Dentists are saying that this is in fact the case now, some dentists on YouTube, and they're saying that this is now more and more frequently documented. So I'm just like, what? I had never heard of it.
We'll look into that, because Kate, if you guys don't know, my girlfriend has wrote articles on this exact topic, very detailed articles about if oil pulling really works, scientific papers, and and she's holistic, so she was showing the science behind it. I don't know if Kate can post that article in there or not, if she's still up and listening. But I would be very surprised, because she just wrote that article 2 years ago, and if all of a sudden it's changed in 2 years, because you can get, as far as my understanding, you can do some minor stuff with oil pulling, but I don't think it does completely grow back cavities and teeth and stuff.
I asked my dentist about it. I asked my dentist about it, and of course he doesn't know anything about the Mandela effect, but he said oil pulling traditionally has only been to help the dentin, the soft material under the enamel, to grow back and restore a bit if you're starting to get a root canal. And they also have a calcium hydroxide formula that they tuck in your tooth to help that grow back, while then they can put a cavity on it instead of you having to have a root canal. But he didn't know anything about the enamel growing. So whether it's valid or not, there's some doubt. But if it's a consideration in these people's testimonies and evidences, I mean, we've got new organs, we've got rearranged features on our body, we've got a lot of changes that have happened, Mandela effect, everything's up for examination as far as, what our reality really is like. And that was a shocker to me to hear.
Yeah, I'm gonna dig that one out for sure, because that's hitting home for us. Like I said, Kate has some of the best articles on the web about this sort of thing. So if you guys didn't know, she's a holistic hygienist, and so she knows a lot about this. She, other than that, we'll talk about that stuff in the Discord. I want to give UniRock one last shout out. So go ahead and say what you want to talk about, and we'll get into it.
All right. I just want to thank you for having me on, and I love talking to you, hanging out with you. So hopefully we can do that more. And thank everybody for receiving my channel and us. And every day we try to strive and work really hard and bring you guys something new to the table. And we're going to keep doing that. And I'll work with you as long as you'll have me, Doc. So thanks, man.
All right. Let's move this over to the Discord. You'll see it being posted in a minute. And as always, I will see you guys on my Thursday night show. I'm not sure who the guest is at this moment, because I got an email during this show saying it canceled. So let me figure all that out, and I will let you know when I know. Other than that, remember to use the Amazon link. I'd appreciate that. And thanks so much for everybody that supported the show. I do have to say some thank yous. I need to get better about thanking people that donate on air. Rebecca, that was really nice and huge. Thank you. That was really unexpected. Rob Dean, always cool, man. You always, and Heather gives it every week. I appreciate that. Karen gives every week. And Danny, yep, all you guys are awesome, creamy. And Alt Portal, you know, from last show that got hacked. I appreciate it so much. And Dana, our own, yeah, I don't know why she donates, but I appreciate that you do. I mean, you're a panelist, but thank you. I appreciate that. And I need to be a lot more grateful and give you guys actual on-air shout-outs for that. Much appreciated. All right, let's put this show to bed, and I'll meet you guys over at Discord. Stay positive, stay strong. Be nice to UniRock's cat, wherever he is.
He's right here.
Is your cat still there? We'll see.
Yeah.
Let
He's
him
floating.
send us off.
Say bye,
There you
Gus. See, tell everybody goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Let him wave it off. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.